The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, orbiting two bright stars that burned like angry eyes. Inside the massive structure, representatives from 47 different alien species sat in their designated seats. The chamber was designed to intimidate, with its high ceilings and cold metal walls that seemed to go on forever. Captain Dae-hyun stood at the back of the room, his arms crossed over his chest. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic fleet, and his face showed no emotion. But inside he felt the anger building. He had seen this coming for weeks now, ever since the incident with the Vraxians. At the center of the chamber, Ambassador Ji-woo stood alone. She was a small woman compared to most of the aliens around her, but she held her head high. Her black hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her eyes were sharp and focused. She had spent 15 years preparing for moments like this, studying alien cultures and learning how to negotiate with beings who thought humans were barely better than animals. Councillor Vrethix rose from his seat. He was a Qualtharian, an insect-like creature with multiple eyes and mandibles that clicked when he spoke. As the chair of the council, his word carried more weight than anyone else's. He looked down at Ji-woo with what might have been contempt, though it was hard to tell with alien faces. Ambassador Ji-woo of Earth, Vrethix's voice echoed through the chamber, translated instantly into a language she could understand. You stand accused of violating the laws of civilized warfare. Your species has committed acts of excessive aggression against the Vraxian collective. Ji-woo did not flinch. The Vraxian collective attacked us first. They destroyed our mining colony on Refuge 7. 3,000 human colonists died in that attack. Men, women, and children. We are aware of the Vraxian aggression, another counselor said. This was Mevron, a being made of what looked like living crystal. Light bent and shifted through his body as he spoke. But your response was disproportionate. You destroyed their entire military in 72 hours. We defended ourselves, Ji-woo replied calmly. You obliterated them. Vrethix's mandibles clicked rapidly. In galactic history, wars between civilized species last for decades, sometimes centuries. They are fought with honor, with restraint, with respect for the rules that separate us from barbarism. You fought like savages. Behind Ji-woo, Lieutenant Yun-woo shifted uncomfortably. He was young, only 26 years old, and he still believed in the Council's promises of peace and cooperation. He had grown up hearing stories about how joining the galactic community would elevate humanity, would teach them better ways. Now he was watching those beliefs crumble. Ji-woo pulled up a holographic display. Images filled the air above her head, showing the destroyed colony on Refuge 7. Buildings torn apart. Bodies scattered across the ground. Children's toys lying in the rubble. The Vraxians came without warning, she said. They gave no chance to surrender. They targeted civilians specifically. Our response was swift, but we targeted only military assets. Not one Vraxian civilian was harmed. Not one city was bombed. We showed restraint that they did not show us. Restraint? Vrethix's laugh sounded like grinding metal. You call it restraint to dismantle an entire fleet in 3 days, to force a complete surrender before negotiations could even begin. This is not how civilized beings conduct warfare. Then perhaps your definition of civilized needs to change, Ji-woo said quietly. The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Aliens of all shapes and sizes made noises of displeasure. Some hissed, some clicked, some made sounds that had no equivalent in human language. Ji-woo stood still, waiting for them to quiet down. Councillor Mevron held up one crystalline hand. Slowly the noise died away. Ambassador, you must understand our position. For thousands of years, the species of this council have maintained peace through shared understanding. When conflicts arise, we resolve them through long negotiations, through economic pressure, through limited military engagement that allows both sides to maintain honor. Your way of war is frightening to us. Our way of war ends quickly, Ji-woo replied, which means less death, less suffering. The Vraxians lost their military, yes, but they kept their people, their cities, their culture. If we had fought your way, that war could have dragged on for decades. How many more would have died on both sides? That is not the point, Vrethix snapped. The point is that you possess a capacity for violence that makes you unsuitable for civilized society. You are too dangerous, too unpredictable, too willing to employ overwhelming force. Captain Dae-hyun watched from the back as the other counselors nodded in agreement. He had commanded warships before becoming a diplomat, and he understood something these aliens did not. Humanity had learned hard lessons in their own brutal history. They knew that long wars created more suffering than short ones. They knew that hesitation in battle cost more lives than swift action. But these aliens had never faced extinction. They had never fought wars where the survival of their entire species hung in the balance. They played at warfare like it was a game with rules, where both sides agreed on how much they would hurt each other. They did not understand that when someone threatened your home, your family, your children, you did not play games. "We call for a vote," Brethix announced, "all in favor of expelling Earth from the Galactic Council, until such time as they prove they have evolved beyond their savage nature." One by one, hands and tentacles and appendages rose into the air. 46 species voted yes. Only Earth voted no. Jiwoo watched the count with a face like stone. When it was done, she looked up at Brethix and spoke clearly so every being in the chamber could hear. "You mistake efficiency for cruelty," she said. "You mistake restraint for weakness. We came to you seeking partnership, seeking to learn from you, seeking to join your community as equals. You have rejected us because we defended our people effectively." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We will respect this decision. Earth will withdraw from the Council. We will close our embassies. We will recall our ships. We will return to our own space and leave you to yours." "A wise decision," Brethix said with satisfaction. "But hear me clearly," Jiwoo continued, her voice growing harder. "We are leaving peacefully now because we choose to, not because you force us. Remember that difference. Remember it well, because someday you may need the very qualities you condemn today. And when that day comes, you will have to ask yourselves if your pride is worth the cost." Brethix waved a dismissive claw. "Empty threats from a quarantined species. This session is concluded." Jiwoo turned and walked toward the exit. Captain Dae-hyun and Lieutenant Hyunwoo fell in step beside her. They walked through the long corridors of the council chamber in silence, their footsteps echoing off the metal walls. As they boarded their ship, the Resilience, Hyunwoo, finally spoke. "Ma'am, what do we do now?" Jiwoo looked out at the stars through the viewport. Now we go home. We warned them. They did not listen. That is their choice to make. Do you think they will regret it?" the young lieutenant asked. "I think," Jiwoo said slowly, "that they will learn what it means when Earth stops protecting them. They just do not know we were protecting them yet." The Resilience turned away from the council chamber and jumped into faster-than-light travel, carrying Earth's representatives home. Behind them, the aliens celebrated their victory, believing they had made their galaxy safer. They would learn differently soon enough. 3 months had passed since Earth's expulsion from the Galactic Council, and the silence from humanity was deafening. Admiral Tae-yang stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above Earth, watching the construction crews work on the new warships. Dozens of vessels hung in the darkness of space, surrounded by sparks from welding torches and clouds of construction drones. The shipyards had not stopped working since the day Earth came home. "How many do we have operational?" he asked without turning around. Captain Dae-hyun checked his datapad. 17 full battle cruisers, 32 destroyers, and 48 fighters. Another 20 ships will be ready within the month. Tae-yang nodded slowly. He was an old man by military standards, with gray hair and a face marked by years of command. He had fought in the last wars before humanity joined the Council, back when Earth stood alone against threats from within their own solar system. He had never fully trusted the aliens, and recent events had proven him right. "The Council expected us to come crawling back," Tae-yang said. "They thought we would beg for readmission, agree to their rehabilitation programs, prove we had learned to be good little humans. Instead, we disappeared," Dae-hyun replied. "Instead, we prepared. Down on Earth." Dr. Ye-jin sat in her office at the Xenoanthropology Institute, surrounded by screens showing data about every alien species in the Council. She had spent the last 3 months analyzing everything humanity had learned during their 15 years in galactic society. Trade patterns, military capabilities, cultural weaknesses, political alliances. Every piece of information was being sorted, categorized, and turned into actionable intelligence. Her assistant knocked on the door. "Ma'am, we have another request from the Qualtharians. They want to know when human merchants will return to the frontier routes." Ye-jin did not look up from her work. "Tell them what we tell everyone else. Earth is no longer interested in those routes. They are offering to double the payment. Tell them no." The assistant hesitated. Ma'am, these routes were barely profitable before. Why did we even operate them? Now Yejin looked up, a small smile on her face. Because 17 alien species depended on those routes for essential supplies. Because human presence in those sectors kept pirates away. Because our security contractors protected their research stations and archaeological sites. We were not just merchants and guards. We were the connective tissue holding the frontier together. And now they are learning what happens when that tissue is cut away. She was right. Across the galaxy, the consequences of Earth's withdrawal were becoming impossible to ignore. On the Council observation platform, Counselor Rilvex paced nervously. He was a Mytharian, an amphibious being whose skin had to be kept constantly moist. Right now, the moisture was not from water tanks but from nervous sweat. The frontier trade routes are collapsing, he told the small group of counselors who had gathered for an unofficial meeting. 3 minor species have already reported critical shortages of medical supplies and food. The humans were the only ones willing to transport goods to those remote sectors. They will adapt, Counselor Vrethik said dismissively, or other species will fill the gap. No one else is willing. Rilvex's voice rose in pitch. Those routes lose money. The humans only ran them because we asked them to as part of their probationary period. Now they are gone and no one else will do it. Counselor Mevron, the crystalline being, flickered with what might have been concern. There are other issues as well. The pirate attacks have increased by 300% in sectors where human security contractors operated. Research stations are being abandoned because they cannot be defended. And our cultural exchange programs have lost their most popular content. Cultural exchange? Vrethix clicked his mandibles in annoyance. You are worried about entertainment? I am worried about the fact that species across 12 sectors had become regular consumers of human music, literature, and games, Mevron replied. Cultural bonds create political stability. The humans were becoming popular, Vrethix, not with us perhaps, but with the common people of many worlds. And now that connection is severed. A junior counselor from a small species spoke up nervously. My homeworld is one of those dependent on the human trade routes. Our people are asking why the council expelled the species that was helping us. They are asking what the council provides if not protection and prosperity. Vrethik slammed a claw on the table. The humans were too dangerous. Their capacity for violence has not been used against any council species except in self-defense, Mevron interrupted. We condemn them for being efficient in warfare. But they never started a war. They never threatened us. They followed our rules until those rules failed to protect their own people. Are you suggesting we made a mistake? Vrethix's multiple eyes fixed on Mevron. I am suggesting we may have acted in haste. The meeting broke up with nothing resolved, but the concerns were spreading. Council members who had voted enthusiastically to expel Earth were now receiving complaints from their home governments. Trade was suffering. Security was weakening. The frontier was becoming wild again, and through it all Earth remained silent. In the Sol system, a human freighter captain named Jun Ho was in the process of docking his ship at the Mars orbital station. He had been halfway across the galaxy when the recall order came through, hauling a cargo of rare minerals to a mining world on the far frontier. Now he was home, resentful but obedient. Control, this is the freighter Lucky Dragon requesting docking clearance, he said into his comm. Clearance granted, Lucky Dragon. Welcome home, Captain. Junho maneuvered his ship into the docking bay and sat back in his chair with a sigh. He had liked working the frontier routes. The aliens there had been friendly enough and the work was steady. Now all of that was gone because some council bureaucrats had decided humanity was too scary. His comm beeped with a message from Fleet Command. He opened it and read the brief text. Report to Assignment Office. New contract available. Military support operations, Junho smiled. So they were not going to let the merchant ship sit idle. Good. If the council did not want human merchants, maybe they would learn to want human warships instead. Ambassador Jiwoo sat in her office in Geneva, looking at reports from across the galaxy. The information was coming in through back channels, from human agents who had been left in place when the embassies closed, from friendly aliens who still maintained contact, from automated monitoring systems that no one had bothered to shut down. The picture was clear. The council was fracturing. Not openly, not yet, but the cracks were forming. Minor species were angry at losing human support. Major species were concerned about the security vacuum. And no one had a solution. Her comm chimed. It was a priority message from an unexpected source, a Qualtharian journalist who had managed to break through Earth's communication barriers. Ambassador Jiwoo, my name is Trevix. I am a journalist with the Galactic News Network. I would like to interview a human official about Earth's current status. What are you doing? What are your plans? The galaxy wants to know. Jiwoo considered the request carefully. This was an opportunity to send a message. She accepted the interview and set it up for the next day. When the interview went live, broadcast across multiple alien networks, Jiwoo sat in a simple office with Earth visible through the window behind her. She answered the journalist's questions with calm precision. What is Earth doing? She repeated the question. We are doing what we should have done from the beginning. We are taking care of our own people first. We are strengthening our defenses. We are building our economy without dependence on others. We are preparing to stand alone. Do you intend to rejoin the Council? Trevix asked. The Council made their decision clear. They do not want us. We respect that decision. But surely Earth cannot thrive in isolation. Jiwoo smiled, and it was not a warm smile. Humanity survived for thousands of years before we met you. We built cities, explored our solar system, created art and science and culture without any help from the Council. We will be fine. What about the species who depended on human support? The frontier worlds, the research stations, the trade routes. The Council assured us that expelling Earth would make the galaxy safer and more civilized. Let them prove it. Let them provide the support those species need. We were told we were too dangerous to be trusted. So we are removing ourselves from situations where our danger might be a problem. The interview ended shortly after. No further questions were answered. The communication channel closed and Earth's silence resumed. But the message had been sent and it spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The humans were not coming back. They were not apologizing. They were not afraid. They were preparing. In the council chamber, Councillor Vrethix watched a recording of the interview and felt something he had not felt in a long time. Doubt. The human ambassador's words echoed in his mind. Let them prove it. Could the council fill the gap left by humanity? Could they protect the frontier, support the minor species, maintain stability without the humans they had expelled? He did not know. And for the first time since the vote, he wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. The attack came without warning. Chancellor Pelthar was in his office on the Peltharan homeworld when the first reports arrived. His species were peaceful beings, tall and slender with blue skin and large eyes that had evolved to see beauty in all things. They were artists, philosophers, and scientists. They had never known war. Now war had come to them. Chancellor, we have multiple contacts entering our space, his military advisor said. Though military advisor was a generous term for someone who had spent most of his career coordinating defense drills that everyone assumed would never be needed. They are not responding to our hails. They are not. The transmission cut off. Through his office window, Pelthar saw bright flashes in the sky. Orbital defense platforms, what few they had, were dying. Within 6 hours, 3 Peltharan colonies were under attack. Within 12 hours, 5 more fell. The attackers were the Kryn Dominion, a reptilian species known for their warrior culture and their ambition. They had been held in check for decades by the threat of Council intervention, but the Council's most effective deterrent was gone. Earth had been expelled. The humans, with their frightening capacity for swift violence, were no longer watching. The Kryn had noticed. High General Krevis stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the Peltharan colonies burn. He was a massive creature covered in scales that looked like armor, with teeth designed for tearing and eyes that saw other species as either useful or in the way. The Peltharans are calling for help, his communication officer reported. Let them call, Krevis replied. The Council has no teeth. They will debate and discuss and form committees. By the time they decide to act, these systems will be ours. He was not entirely wrong. In the Council chamber, emergency sessions had been called. Chancellor Pelthar appeared as a hologram, his image flickering as the transmission struggled through the chaos of the invasion. We are dying, he said simply. Our colonies are being destroyed. Our people are being killed or displaced. We joined the Council because you promised us protection. We need that protection now. Councillor Vrethix shifted uncomfortably in his seat. We are discussing military options. Discussing? Pelthar's voice rose in desperation. My people do not have time for discussion. We need action. Counselor Rilvex spoke up, his amphibious body trembling. Chancellor, you must understand. Our military forces are not designed for rapid deployment. We operate under doctrines that require extensive planning, careful consideration of proportional response, and I understand that my people are dying while you plan. Pelthar shouted. Counselor Mevron's crystalline form flickered with distress. We will mobilize what forces we can, but the truth is that our combined military operates on timescales of months, not days. We have no rapid response capability. Why not? Pelthar demanded. The silence that followed answered his question. The Council had no rapid response capability because they had expelled the only species that understood how to move fast. They had built their military doctrine around the assumption that all civilized species would fight slowly, with restraint, following rules that the Kryn were now ignoring. A junior counselor from a small species, one whose homeworld was close to Pelthar in space, stood up nervously. There is one option we have not discussed. All eyes turned to him. We could contact Earth. The chamber erupted into chaos. Voices overlapped in a dozen different languages, translated into a cacophony of disagreement and argument. Counselor Vrethix's mandibles clicked so rapidly they sounded like a machine gun. Absolutely not. We expelled them for their excessive violence. How can we now ask them to employ that very violence on our behalf? Because 17 million Peltharans will die if we do not, Counselor Mevron said quietly, and his words cut through the noise like a blade. We can protect our pride or we can protect our people. We cannot do both. The debate raged for 3 days. 3 days while more Peltharan colonies fell, while refugees fled into space in whatever ships they could find, while the Kryn pushed deeper into territory they had no legal right to invade. On Earth, Ambassador Jiwoo watched the reports coming in from her intelligence network. She sat in her office, a cup of tea cooling on her desk, and felt a complex mixture of emotions. Part of her was angry at the Council's hypocrisy. Part of her was sad for the Peltharans who had done nothing to deserve this. And part of her, the part she did not like to acknowledge, felt a grim satisfaction at being proven right. Admiral Taeyang entered her office without knocking. The Council is debating whether to contact us. I know. What do we do if they ask for help? Jiwoo was quiet for a moment, then looked up at the Admiral. We make them pay for it. Not with money, though, that too. We make them acknowledge that they were wrong. We make them give us back everything they took, and we make them understand that Earth does not serve at their convenience. Some will say that is cruel, Taeyang observed. The Peltharans are innocent in this. The Peltharans are innocent, Jiwoo agreed. But the Council is not. They created this situation. They expelled us and left a power vacuum. They told the galaxy that humanity was too dangerous to be trusted. Now they need that danger and they will have to admit it publicly. And if they refuse, if they let the Peltharans fall, rather than admit they were wrong, Jiwoo's expression hardened. Then they will learn that pride has a cost. And maybe the next time they will think twice before condemning someone for defending their people. On the 4th day of the invasion, a formal communication arrived from the Council. It was carefully worded, full of diplomatic language about mutual security concerns and consultation regarding regional stability. It never once used the word help. Jiwoo read it twice, then forwarded it to Admiral Taeyang with a short note. They are asking, do not make it easy. The Admiral smiled when he read the message. He had been preparing for this moment since the day Earth was expelled. His ships were ready. His crews were trained. His battle plans were detailed and devastating, but they would wait a little longer. Let the Council sweat. Let them understand that humanity was not their servant, not their attack dog to be summoned at will. On the Peltharan homeworld, Chancellor Pelthar watched smoke rise from the capital city. A Kryn strike force had bombed industrial centers, not to destroy military targets, but to spread fear. It was working. His people were terrified. Has the Council responded? He asked his advisor. They are in negotiations with Earth. Earth? Hope sparked in Pelthar's voice. He had met humans during the brief time they served on the Council. They had been different from other species, more direct, more practical. Will they help us? I do not know, Chancellor. The Council expelled them months ago. There is bad blood between them. Pelthar looked out at his burning city and felt despair settle over him like a heavy blanket. His people were dying because the Council could not protect them. And now their only hope was a species the Council had rejected for being too good at fighting. The irony was not lost on him. In the Kryn flagship, High General Krivis received reports of the Council's communication with Earth. He laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Let them call the humans. By the time the humans decide to act, if they decide to act at all, we will control all of Peltheran space. And what will the humans do then? Start a war with us? They just got expelled from the Council for being too violent. They will not risk complete isolation by attacking a sovereign species without Council approval. His tactical officer was less certain. Sir, the human military record suggests their record is against minor species and small conflicts. Krives interrupted. We are the Kryn Dominion. We have been preparing for war for generations. We have over 200 warships in this sector alone. Even if the humans come, we outnumber them 6-1. Yes, sir. But the tactical officer had read the reports more carefully than his general. He had studied the human response to the Vraxian attack, had analyzed their tactics and their speed. The humans had not just won that battle. They had made it look easy. He kept his concerns to himself. Generals did not like to be told they might be wrong. In space, in the silence between stars, the pieces were moving into position. The Council was debating terms. Earth was considering its response. The Peltherans were dying, and the Kryn were confident in their numerical superiority. None of them fully understood what was about to happen. Ambassador Ji-Woo stood in the communication center, looking at the latest message from the Council. They had moved beyond diplomatic language now. This message was direct, almost desperate. We formally request Earth's military assistance in stopping the Kryn invasion of Peltheran space. She allowed herself a small smile. It had taken them long enough to say it clearly. Now came the hard part. She opened a channel to Admiral Tae-Yang. Admiral, prepare the expeditionary fleet. We are going to negotiate terms. And then we are going to show the galaxy why they should have kept us in the first place. The Council delegation arrived at Earth on a cold morning in Geneva. Councillor Mevron led the group, his crystalline body refracting the winter sunlight into rainbow patterns on the snow. Behind him walked Councillor Vrethix, his insectoid form hunched as if the weight of the situation pressed down on his carapace. 3 other councillors completed the delegation, all looking uncomfortable in the thin Earth atmosphere. They had expected to meet in orbit, in the neutral territory of space. Instead, Ambassador Ji-Woo had insisted they come to Earth's surface. It was a deliberate choice, forcing them to enter humanity's home territory, to breathe human air and walk on human ground. The delegation was escorted into a conference room with windows overlooking the snow-covered mountains. Earth's negotiating team was already seated. Ambassador Ji-Woo sat at the center, flanked by Minister Bo-Ra, Earth Secretary of Defense, and Admiral Tae-Yang. Behind them stood Captain Dae-hyun and several other military officers. Thank you for coming, Ji-Woo said, her voice carrying no warmth. Councillor Mevron settled into a chair designed for his crystalline physiology. Ambassador, the situation is urgent. The Kryn have taken 12 Peltheran colonies. Millions are displaced. Thousands are dead. You need Earth's military, Ji-Woo interrupted. Let us be clear about what this meeting is. You expelled us from the Council 8 months ago because we were too efficient at warfare. You called us savage and barbaric. You said we were too dangerous to be part of civilized society. Now you need that danger and you are here to ask us to employ it on your behalf. Vrethix's mandibles clicked. We understand the irony of the situation, do you? Minister Bora leaned forward. She was a hard woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Because from where we sit, it looks like you condemned us for defending our people, and now you want us to defend yours. The Peltherans are innocent, Mevron said quietly. They did not vote to expel you. They do not deserve to suffer because of our mistakes. No, they do not, Ji-Woo agreed, which is why we are willing to discuss terms. But let me be absolutely clear, we are not your servants. We are not your attack dogs to be summoned at will. If Earth intervenes in this conflict, it will be on our terms, not yours. She activated a holographic display, and text appeared in the air above the table. Our terms are as follows. First, full reinstatement to the Galactic Council, effective immediately with no probationary status. Second, a formal public apology from the Council, acknowledging that you misjudged humanity's defensive actions against the Vraxians. Third, Economic reparations for 8 months of sanctions that damaged our trade relationships. Fourth, military basing rights in 3 strategic sectors to be negotiated. Fifth, veto power over Council military doctrines going forward. And sixth, no interference in how Earth conducts operations against the Kryn. The silence that followed was absolute. Councillor Vrethix's entire body seemed to vibrate with anger. These terms are extortion. You would profit from Peltheran suffering. Admiral Taeyang spoke for the first time, his voice calm but cold. Councillors, let me explain your situation clearly. You have no military capable of rapid deployment. Your combined forces require months to mobilize for action. By the time you are ready to intervene, the Peltherans will be extinct or enslaved. You have no plan, no strategy, and no solution. What you have is time running out. We could offer incentives for other species to mobilize faster, Mevron suggested weakly. Could you? Minister Bora pulled up another display, showing military readiness reports across Council species. The Queltharians have 48 warships within range of Peltheran space. They require 6 weeks minimum to deploy them. The Matharians have 60 ships, but they need 8 weeks. The Solthians have impressive fleet numbers, but their closest vessels are 3 months away. Should I continue? She did not wait for an answer. Earth has 37 warships that can be in Peltheran space within 72 hours. We have crews ready, supplies loaded, and battle plans prepared. We have been ready since the day we left your council. The question is not whether you have other options. You do not. The question is whether your pride is worth millions of Peltheran lives. Councillor Vrethix stood abruptly. I will not sit here and be lectured by— Then leave, Jiwoo said simply. Walk out of this room. Return to your council and watch the Peltherans die. We will not stop you. Earth will remain in our own space, safe and secure. But make no mistake, Councillor. If you leave this room without accepting our terms, you will be the one who chose pride over lives. Not us. Vrethix froze, half standing, his multiple eyes fixed on the human ambassador. Slowly, he settled back into his chair. Mevron spoke, his voice heavy with shame. If we refuse these terms, what happens to the Peltherans? They fall, Admiral Taeyang replied. The Kryn will take their territory, enslave or displace their population, and add another conquest to their history. And then the Kryn will look at the Council and realize you are toothless. They will wonder who else they can invade without consequence. Your weakness will encourage others, and if we accept, Mevron asked. Jiwoo's expression softened slightly. Then we will stop the Kryn. We will do what you cannot. End this war quickly with minimal casualties and restore Peltheran sovereignty. We will show the galaxy that aggressive expansion has consequences. A younger councillor from a smaller species spoke up nervously. How can you be certain you will succeed? The Kryn have over 200 warships. Captain Daehyun answered, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who had already fought and won these battles in simulation. Because we do not fight the way you do, Councillor. We do not have symbolic battles that drag on for years. We identify objectives, concentrate our forces, and achieve victory decisively. The Kryn expect a long war where both sides slowly grind each other down. They will not get one. That is what frightens us, Mevron said quietly. I know, Jiwoo replied. You are frightened by efficiency, by the idea that wars can be won instead of endured. But that fear is your problem, not ours. We are offering you a solution to your current crisis. You can accept it and save the Peltherans, or reject it and watch them burn. Those are your only options. The council delegation requested 4 hours to deliberate privately. They were given a secure room and left alone to argue among themselves. Outside, Captain Daehyun stood with Lieutenant Hyunwoo, looking out at the snow-covered mountains. Do you think they will accept? The younger officer asked. They have to, Daehyun replied. They have no choice, but they will hate themselves for it, and they will hate us for making them do it. Is that wise? Making enemies of the council? Daehyun smiled without humor. We were already their enemy, Hyunwoo. They expelled us, remember? All we are doing now is setting terms for working together despite that. If they cannot respect us, they will at least learn to need us. 3 hours later, the council delegation emerged. Councillor Mevron looked like he had aged a decade in that short time. Even his crystalline body seemed dimmer, less vibrant. We accept your terms, he said simply. Jiwoo nodded. Then we will begin operations immediately. Admiral? Admiral Taeyang stood and activated his communicator. All units, this is Admiral Taeyang. Authorization code Taeyang 77 Blue. Execute Operation Sledgehammer. I repeat, execute Operation Sledgehammer. Across the Sol system, the expeditionary fleet came to life. 37 warships that had been on standby for weeks activated their systems, called their crews to stations, and began coordinated launch procedures. They moved with practiced precision, a ballet of military efficiency that would have been beautiful if it were not so frightening. Within 6 hours, the fleet was assembled at the jump point. Within 12 hours, they were gone, leaping across light years toward Peltheran space. Captain Dae Hyun stood on the bridge of the Resilience, his ship once again at the front of a human fleet. Around him, his crew worked with calm professionalism. They had trained for this. They were ready. All ships report ready for combat. Operations, his tactical officer reported. Very good. Dae Hyun sat in his command chair and looked at the main screen showing the route to Peltheran space. Helm, take us in. Communications, prepare a message for broadcast on all frequencies the moment we arrive. Yes, sir. What should the message say? Dae Hyun smiled, and it was not a kind smile. Tell them this. Human expeditionary fleet to all Kryn forces. You have 24 hours to withdraw from Peltheran territory. This is your only warning. In the Kryn flagship, High General Krivis would receive that message soon, and he would make the last mistake of his military career. He would ignore it. Earth had tried diplomacy. Earth had tried cooperation. Earth had tried following the Council's rules. Now Earth was done trying. Now Earth would simply win. The human expeditionary fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Peltheran space. 37 warships appeared in perfect formation, their arrival timed down to the millisecond. On the bridge of the Resilience, Captain Dae Hyun watched his tactical display light up with contacts. Count 218 Kryn warships, his sensor officer reported. They have us outnumbered 6-1. Understood, Dae Hyun replied calmly. Communications, broadcast our warning on all frequencies. The message went out across every channel, in every language the translator systems could manage. Human expeditionary fleet to all Kryn forces. You have 24 hours to withdraw from Peltheran territory. This is your only warning. In the Kryn flagship Conqueror's Wrath, High General Krivis listened to the message and laughed. His bridge crew joined in, the sound of Kryn amusement like stones grinding in a rock slide. 37 ships giving orders to 200, he said between laughs. The humans are either insane or suicidal, perhaps both. His tactical officer, the one who had studied human combat records, spoke carefully. Sir, I recommend we at least consider their warning. The humans destroyed the entire Vraxian fleet in 72 hours. The Vraxians were weak. Krivis dismissed the concern. We are Kryn. We have trained for battle since birth. We have superior numbers, superior position, and experience these humans lack. Send them a response. Tell them if they do not leave Peltheran space immediately, we will add human ships to our list of conquests. The response was transmitted. On the Resilience, Lieutenant Hyun Woo read it aloud. They are threatening to destroy us, sir. Dae Hyun checked his chronometer and noted the timestamp. 24 hours from now we will see who destroys whom. All ships assume defensive positions. Begin reconnaissance protocols. I want to know everything about their fleet disposition, command structure, and supply lines. The human ships spread out across the sector, not attacking, just watching, but their sensors were active, their computers analyzing, their crews preparing. They were not idle. They were learning. On the observation platform in Council space, several counselors watched real-time feeds from Peltheran space. Counselor Mevron stood transfixed as data streamed across multiple displays. They are just sitting there, Counselor Rilvek said nervously. Why are they not attacking? They gave the Kryn a warning, Mevron replied. Now they are giving them time to comply. It is more restraint than the Kryn showed the Peltherans. But the Kryn will not withdraw. Everyone knows this. Yes. And I think the humans know it too. They are using this time to prepare. He was right. Across the human fleet, every ship was running constant scans. They mapped Kryn formations, identified command vessels, tracked communication patterns, and analyzed supply movements. Human tactical computers, more advanced than anything the Council possessed, were building a complete picture of the enemy force. Admiral Taeyang, commanding from Earth, watched the data flow in. He sat in the Fleet Operations Center surrounded by screens and officers, coordinating the largest human military operation since before first contact with the Council. The Kryn are confident, his intelligence officer reported. Their formations are aggressive but sloppy. They are not expecting a real fight. Good, Taeyang replied. Overconfidence is a weakness we can exploit. What about their command structure? Highly centralized. All major decisions flow through the flagship. If we can disable the Conqueror's wrath, we can blind their entire fleet. Make that priority 1. Transmit the target package to Captain Daehyun. 23 hours after the warning was issued, Captain Daehyun received his final orders. He read them carefully, then addressed his crew. All hands, this is the captain. In 1 hour we will engage the Kryn Dominion forces. Our mission is simple. Remove them from Peltharan space with extreme prejudice. The Kryn have shown no mercy to the Peltharans, but we are not the Kryn. We will target military assets only. We will accept surrenders. We will follow the laws of war even if our enemy does not. But make no mistake, we are here to win, and we will win. Decisively, completely, swiftly. Get to your stations. Do your duty. Show them what Earth is capable of. On the Peltharan homeworld, Chancellor Pelthar watched the human fleet on his tactical displays. His military advisor stood beside him, both of them holding their breath. Can they really defeat a force that outnumbers them so badly? Pelthar asked. I do not know, Chancellor, but they seem very confident. 24 hours after the warning was issued, Captain Daehyun spoke one word. Execute. The human fleet moved. They did not charge forward like heroes in ancient stories. They did not announce their attack with grand speeches. They simply executed a plan that had been prepared, refined, and practiced. 15 human ships, led by the Resilience, jumped to precise coordinates around the Kryn flagship. They appeared in perfect position, weapons already locked, firing solutions already calculated. Missiles launched before the Kryn even realized they were under attack. The Conqueror's Wrath's shields absorbed the first impacts, but human weapons were designed for efficiency. The missiles carried electromagnetic pulse warheads that disrupted shield harmonics. The second wave of missiles punched through weakened shields and struck the flagship's communication arrays. High General Krivis watched in shock as his command displays went dark. What happened? Get communications back online. But it was too late. In 90 seconds, the human ships had disabled his flagship's ability to coordinate the fleet. The Kryn force was not defeated, but it was blind. While the Kryn command structure scrambled to adapt, the rest of the human fleet was already moving to Phase 2. 8 human destroyers jumped to 3 different locations simultaneously, targeting Kryn supply depots that had been identified during the reconnaissance period. Without supplies, the Kryn fleet could not sustain a prolonged battle. The depots were defended, but the humans had analyzed their defenses and found the weaknesses. They struck with surgical precision, destroying fuel reserves and ammunition stockpiles. The explosions lit up space like new stars. At the same time, 6 human ships engaged a Kryn battle group that had been threatening the last Peltharan colony still under native control. The Kryn expected a direct confrontation, a test of firepower against firepower. Instead, the human ships used what they called hit-and-fade tactics. They would jump in, fire a devastating salvo, then jump out before return fire could be coordinated. They appeared from unexpected angles, struck at vulnerable points, and vanished into faster-than-light travel before the Kryn could respond. It was not honorable by Kryn standards. It was not fair. It was devastatingly effective. 6 hours into the battle, the Kryn had lost 30 ships in all 3 supply depots. The human fleet had lost nothing. High General Krivis, still struggling to re-establish command and control from his damaged flagship, finally understood the mistake he had made. The humans were not fighting like the Council species fought. They were not trying to match him ship for ship, to prove their courage in direct combat. They were dismantling his ability to fight at all. All ships, concentrate your forces, he ordered on whatever communication channels still worked. Form a defensive sphere. We need to, his tactical officer interrupted. Sir, multiple human contacts. They are targeting our outlying vessels. The humans had identified the Kryn ships that had moved too far from mutual support. Now they were picking them off one by one, using their numerical disadvantage as an advantage. With fewer ships, the human fleet was more mobile, could concentrate force faster, could coordinate more effectively. The Kryn tried to regroup, but every time they formed a strong defensive position, the humans simply ignored it and attacked somewhere else. They refused to fight on Kryn terms. 12 hours into the battle, Krivis realized with cold certainty that he was losing. At hour 18, 3 Kryn ships attempted to bombard a Peltheran civilian target, trying to force the humans into a disadvantageous position by using hostages. Captain Dae-Hyun's response was immediate and uncompromising. He broadcast a message on all frequencies. For every Peltheran civilian harmed, we will destroy 10 Kryn military assets. Test us. 3 Kryn ships ignored the warning and fired on the civilian target. 16 human missiles destroyed all 3 ships before their weapons reached the planet. The message was clear. The rest of the Kryn fleet stood down from civilian targeting. At hour 28, High General Krivis faced a tactical board painted red with destroyed or disabled ships. He had started with 218 warships. Now he had fewer than 100 operational vessels. The human fleet had lost 2 ships, with another 4 damaged, but still combat-capable. It was not a battle. It was a massacre. Signal. Retreat, he ordered, the words like poison on his tongue. Sir? Signal retreat. Get our ships out of Peltheran space before they destroy us all. As the Kryn fleet began to withdraw, Captain Dae-Hyun received a priority communication. It was High General Krivis himself on the emergency surrender frequency. Human Commander, I request terms for cessation of hostilities. Dae-Hyun looked at his tactical display, at the fleeing Kryn ships, at the victory that was now complete. High General Krivis, your forces will exit Peltheran space under human escort.